And now, a man who has been at the forefront of the Australian taxidermy industry for over 35 years. From South Pacific Taxidermy, please welcome Gary Pegg.
Thank you, mate.
How you doing, Gary?
Very good, thank you.
Great, excellent. Now, I am so interested to hear more about taxidermy. To start off, talk to me about how you got interested and why you loved it.
How I all started?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mate, it all started as a childhood passion.
Uh-huh.
I can remember as a 6-year-old looking up at my grandfather's owl in a dome, and then later on we went as a family hunting, and that was my first sort of introduction to taxidermy, to get some trophies mounted by an old taxidermist living up in the Golden Valley area.
Yeah, right.
And from there, I just got fascinated. And back then there was no internet, of course. There wasn't even fax machines, so we had to do everything by correspondence course, which was the old snail mail.
Yeah.
And I learnt at the age of 14, and then by the time I was 18, I was running my own business.
Wow.
And been doing so for like 35, 36 years, so too long.
I mean, it seems like a really impressive thing for a 14-year-old to kind of have learnt. I mean, to me, it seems very intricate. Can you tell me more about the process?
Oh, yeah, and it was like a fascination for wildlife in general.
Sure.
And, the general process is to remove all the skin, whether it be a bird or a mammal, remove the skin, preserve it, and we make a artificial body, and we mount that preserved skin back over the body, and it's all wide and it has the eyes in it, and try to get into a lifelike position such as the specimen's here.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that's what we try to do.
That's amazing. So, I mean, is it more difficult if you have larger animals? I mean, for example, if I wanted to have Banjo stuffed, is that is that a complicated thing to achieve?
We'd
or
have
is
to
that...
work out a price, of course, but it could be done.
Sure, sure. I mean, we'd
Yeah.
have to find a naturalistic position for him. If I wanted him sort of trapped in a glass box forever, is that doable?
Oh, of course, yeah. They're actually mounted human beings overseas, so...
Wow, really?
Yeah, there are records of some of the early examples of human beings, and Walt Disney's cryovac sort of thing is in
That's true.
like in a preserved state. So
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh, good.
It does happen.
And so are there animals that are more difficult to preserve than others? Like are birds easier? Is that why you've done a kookaburra?
Oh, the birds are generally a good subject to work with because of the feathers and everything else that can cover any of your mistakes.
Right.
The fish would probably be the hardest with the detail that you've got to put into fish, and the painting and the colours, because all that fades away with a specimen when it passes on. So all those colours that you'll see on a fish in a museum, they've all been reproduced with paints and all sorts of techniques to make them look lifelike.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the skin on a fish is quite delicate as well.
Yep, and in some of those instances they do reproductions in fiberglass simply because they're unable to even remove the skin. So stingrays and things like that they'll do in fiberglass, and
Yeah, right.
it's just part of the techniques that they've developed over the years.
So the stingray, if I see a preserved stingray in a museum, none of it is stingray?
Most likely it'll be fiberglass.
How interesting.
Yeah,
And that's still considered taxidermy even though it's not?
Well, it's about the only way they know at the moment to be able to replicate them as such.
Yeah.
Though 3D printing's coming into it now, which is a fascinating sort of concept where they're doing a lot of small mammals and critters and things like that with 3D printing.
Right.
And,
so if I had a 3D printer, I could go to a website or something and say, "Hi, print me off a possum."
Well, yeah, it's exactly. And what they're actually doing is creating a database of specimens from around the world, and it might be some of your invertebrates and things like that. And with that database, various institutes are able to send files, and if they want a moth replica from Australia, they'll send a copy and print it off on their 3D printer in their
Amazing.
facility. So yeah, rather than go through all the delicate process of what they did years ago of shipping and they get lost or burnt or whatever, like happened a few years ago, and precious items get lost, they'd rather send a replica of the rarest specimens. And so 3D printer is all happening, and
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So is there a particular piece that you're most proud of? I mean, of the ones you've brought in today or in general?
I think the kookaburra is pretty neat. I mean,
it's gorgeous.
I think he says it all, and it's a bit of an icon species, and I think everybody will be familiar with the kookaburras, of course. So But
Yeah.
yeah, I love the birds myself because of my childhood passion for keeping birds. So
Sure. Yeah.
And,
And is that why you get a lot of I mean, do a lot of people come to you saying, "Can you please preserve my pet"? Is that the standard?
yes, we do get a lot of requests for pets. Very difficult subject to have to deal with because of the emotions attached to it.
Sure.
So
That's why I'd be so awkward about stuffing banjo.
yeah, yeah.
I'd move
I can
past it eventually, I
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we've done a lot of pets, and of course nowadays the pets are such a diverse range. I mean, they have snakes, they got, you know, the rats, they got spiders and crabs. It's not just the conventional dog or cat. So,
Sure. Well, thank you so much for taking us through this,
My
Gary.
pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Gary Pegg, ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen.